Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment in our Shadow of Doom playthrough. Today, we find ourselves at the entrance to Latveria, and this place is kind of scary for a lot of different reasons. But we've got a pretty okay team. No, this team is not super great. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to take on some of the objectives that are located throughout and hopefully have some better characters ready to go for the next episode, which will likely be the finale with the final confrontation against Doom. But that's not our concern currently. Now, a lot of these smaller guys are optional. You don't have to fight them, but they offer some variant amount of XP, and so where we're looking to grind up our team and make them a little bit stronger, it certainly wouldn't hurt to grab them a little bit. So we'll just swoop in, take a couple hits, destroy a couple of our opponents, and take out these teleporters so they don't keep coming for us. Sound fair? I think it does. Anywho, yeah, this is about the last of the story quests that we really need to go through. Over here on your right, there is a drop box that we'll need to bust open. Looks like there's some orange iso-8 within there. That might just be a generic reward for finding it, or it could have been the first time I opened that particular box. Who knows? The reason why you want to take note of where those boxes are and break them open is because there is there are costumes for some of the characters, particularly the DLC characters, that can be acquired through taking out some of those boxes. And there's actually another one hiding way back here that I don't know that I'd ever found it before. So let's go ahead and knock that open since we're here. Or maybe I had found it. Either way, it is something that you'll want to make sure that you get, because it's kind of tucked away in a corner that you otherwise wouldn't regularly look. Nope, Gamora is not one of the people that we wanted here, because she's very far away from the rest of the crew. And nice little bit of experience that we were able to gain there. So we'll glide down to this last teleporter, put out a synergy attack there to knock out the remainder of the teleporter, and then clean up the remainder of the Doombots that are hanging out down here. Now, does Falcon's Falling Aerial constitute the best answer to these Doombots? Probably not. But it's an option that we have when we come out of a synergy attack, so I'm not going to pass up on any and all options for damage that we can output. And it looks like there's just one last guy over here that we'll need to take on. And I think that's Ghost Rider making those grunting noises, which are a little bit unsettling there in the background. But you can't beg and choose what we're looking for. And you should be familiar with this area from some of the gauntlet runs that we've done, especially if you've tuned into any of my live streams over on Twitch, which more consistent content coming to you over there. And if you want to follow me, you can check the link to my Twitch channel in the description of the video. And here we have ourselves a little laser grid puzzle. Now this is what can be a little bit tricky. And one of the things that you'll want to do is just kind of familiarize yourself with these patterns and not get hung up in them too much. But when and if you do end up taking hits, you'll want to roll underneath them. And as you can see, I'm not doing a super great job at keeping out of them. Or you can just, choose Falcon, fly at this level, and make it through everything. That is not the maximum flight height, to be clear. But thankfully, this particular section is not included in any of the speedruns, so you don't have to worry about any of the more technical laser grids. So let's make it up to Castle Latveria. And the thing that you'll want to keep in mind for these guys is you want to try and target these Doombots that have the rocket packs wherever you can, because they are the ones that can take out your team in one fell swoop if you're not careful. But if you are able to take them out before they detonate your rockets on top of you, you then have a very powerful throwing projectile, which can then be used to take out more of them, or take out a couple of the teleporters that crop up. There's a lot of uses that you can have. And the nice thing that is that, as far as I can tell, the rockets don't have like an expiration timer. They do have amounts of damage that can be dealt to them, which will render them useless, but they don't detonate automatically like some of the other explosives like the Sentinel cores and energy crystals from the main story quest. So that's a positive trade-off in the very least. But we'll keep hammering into these guys just to make sure that we have them all out of the way. And I do kind of understand the reasoning why some of those projectiles auto-expire. It's to encourage you using them, but I do kind of wish that some of them didn't expire as quick as they do, or that I had more control over when I could use something. Come on. Let's take out the last of this guy here. Can we make it over this platform? We cannot. And as a matter of fact, we took a bunch of damage because that guy just put all of his pellets right into our face. But we can knock these guys down onto the lower ground where my teammates can make shorter work of them. That's an option. And layer into these guys a couple more times. And there's just one more of them. Thankfully, these guys have a very low health pool compared with some of the other opponents. And we will just kind of bunny skip and hop our way up the path to make it to the next projectile in tow. And that's not the enemy I was hoping I would have hit with that. I was really hoping that we could have hit one of these guys with the actual rockets. Because getting hit by these guys as their rockets detonate is kind of a terrifying experience. But we'll take out this guy, or at least cripple him a fair bit more. And then we'll get this rocket in our hand to bring into the next fight to assure that we have a quick hit right off the bat. You'll always want to make sure you take a peek down these alleyways. And this is the biggest reason why you want to try and take out these guys with the rockets, because this is an easy one-shot on any of these objectives or these teleporters that need to go down in order to unlock the next area. Let's go ahead and dump a bunch of our extreme attacks here just get some collective damage in. It wasn't targeted, so that would explain why a lot of this is not, or a lot of these attacks didn't do as well as perhaps they could otherwise. But there's a couple of these guys with their rockets that we can still take out. Just trying to focus them down wherever possible so we can keep as many Doombots off the battlefield as possible. We've got all these lower ground ones taken out. You should be able to hit those from lower ground. If you want to make sure that you hit them, you can kind of target onto them from a little bit higher. And here should be our last rocket needed to take out the last teleporter over here. And we've got another rocket here we can just throw into this guy. And just 2 more of these large Doombots left to completely finish them out. Now, one thing that can be kind of nice about using some of these falling aerials is with the ones that can hit a multitude of different times, you can increase the overall health that you gain back if you have that mastery active. So that can certainly be something to focus on. Now, I don't recall if there was a box down this way. I don't think there was, but you can never be too cautious when looking around for those kinds of items. I don't think that there's anything back down that way either. No, we'd be able to see it from up here. So let's just keep on moving up to the next section. As I leave my teammates behind, they should teleport back in to be within frame. And to assure that they didn't get left too far behind. And just when you thought that there weren't going to be any more laser grids, well, there are. And over here to the left, there is another box that you'll want to grab before heading across that drawbridge. Always important to check these areas. And like I said, when you thought that you were done with the laser grids, well, you're not, because there's more. And what's more is there's a couple of opponents that are going to...
More laser blasting robots? Remind me to cancel our family vacation to Doomstat next year.
Oh boy. Oh, we might be able to salvage this. Nope. Falcon went down. Honestly, I think it's best to just kind of ignore these guys as you make your way through the actual laser grids. The one piece of tech that I have found that can be used where needed is if you have a character that has an extreme attack that has any degree of control to it, you can use that to your advantage to kind of get some mobility and kind of abuse the intangibility that you have on your extreme attack to make your way through. Come on, let me revive this guy. Thank you. And then we'll just go ahead and offload our extreme attack from Falcon here as well. It would have been nice to have comboed that with some of the other extreme attacks, but it was not in the cards. And as we take some of these guys out, more of them are going to appear. Though I think we have to actually take out all of the Doombots that are currently present in order for the next ones to show up. But we do have some of these rocket-wielding ones showing up now. And they don't seem to be super eager on using their missiles until they've been around for a minute. But at this stage, you'll really just want to try and rinse and repeat as many of these rocket attacks as you can. I was going to hold on to that rocket for a moment, but I ended up squandering it because of this other guy that came in and punched me in the face while I was holding it before I could actually use it. And you'll know when you're in trouble from these guys because of the reticle that locks onto your characters, or to your party. And should have just about all of these guys taken down at this stage. And hopefully we've got one or two more of these rockets we can use. And there they go. So we've got a couple extra rockets hanging around here, but nothing else we can really do with them, I don't think. No, we could. So let's make our way into Doom's fortress here. We'll get a refresh on our revives, which is good, because there are a couple other tricky sections up here. Now, Doom is kind of pompous and knows no limits on shows of grandeur, which is why you'll want to check every little cranny that you have. And a good rule of thumb here is check the minimap to see where the paths branch off to. Because as you saw there was a crevice over to the left of that entry stairwell that granted us a loot chest that would otherwise go unnoticed because there's not really a very clear descriptor of that having been there. And got these Doombots taken down, so we can take this rocket into the next room. Nothing over here to our immediate left. Couple of rockets down here, which could have been used in that previous round of combat. Again, that's a lot of situational awareness. Let's try and use this on this guy, so we don't have to deal with him. And that tended to work pretty well. Got a couple of close-up shots that tend to work very well with Elsa. And these bookshelves, of course, can be broken down for different ISO particles and credits. So keep that in mind. This grid moves a little quick, so you'll want to make sure that you get your timing down on it. And then I would recommend either double jumping or moving through with a character that possesses a flight ability. And as a matter of fact, this might be easiest with a flight character if you can muster it. Or something that you can alternatively do is you can roll around those laser blasts as they come down. I actually think that it looks a lot more visually intimidating than the laser grids, but I think that's easier than the laser grid is, because there are techniques you can use to get around it. And nothing else in this little laboratory here. As a matter of fact, this whole combat section is optional. from an objective standpoint. But again, we're just kind of moving through it as best we can. Oh, and that's the large rocket burst that you want to be on the lookout for, because it will mess you up. Fortunately, they only have access to that once, and you can see that because they now no longer have that rocket strapped to their back. So take advantage of that, taking them down before they use that rocket, as you can easily turn it in your favor instead of having to actively fight against it. Now that we've got him taken down, we can move into the next section, and my recommendation here is you've got a couple of these rockets that you can use to get yourself a couple of extra rockets, especially if they stack up on themselves like that. And you can use them to take out some of these opponents, but if you play your cards right, you can actually use them on these teleporters to assure that you can stop the onslaught of opponents. And I think one of my teammates picked up that other rocket, which, that's okay, it happens. And that one should auto hone in on that other teleporter, which it did. And got a nice shield poke from that attack from Gamora there, which gives us access to another rocket, which we can now focus in on this teleporter. And I don't think that we've had another rocket wielding Doombot show up, which is fine. Because honestly, they kind of freak me out and intimidate me. Let's gradually move this fight up the staircase as to assure that we can target in on this other teleporter as quickly as possible. Let's switch over to Falcon because I think he's right there. And this synergy team seems to take out these teleporters decently well. So that should be the last of them. And now it's just a clean house on the remaining Doombots that are hanging out down here. Looks like we've got one guy that got bored down here at the bottom of the staircase. And just a few more guys up here, and you'll see that they are standing guard over this loot crate, which knocking them off the edge gets about all you'd need out of that. And you've got to make sure that you're lining up with a proper synergy, which it seems that that one from Ghost Rider is what this particular box was looking for in this instance. We'll grab this rocket before moving into the next section here, which is going to be another puzzle trying to avoid a Celestial, and you can see his body taking shape out there in the background. And if you're familiar with the pattern from the last one, well, get used to it, because you're going to have to deal with that as well as an electrical component as well. And honestly, this is the one that tends to be a little bit more difficult, because if you get caught up in the electrical bits, then you're just left wide open to the overall attack that the Celestial is more particular at. And if you roll at the right time, you can get around the attack. provided that you don't get, you know, rounded up in the electricity for multiple moves on end. And just like that, we've managed to roll our way around it, which is going to get us revived right here on the other side of this objective. And I actually think that that's going to be where we hold it off, because we're going to do a big duel fight to end this off. So make sure you check in next week for the finale for this Shadow of Doom playthrough. But until then, thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.